Everybody knows the man who made the whole world clap along to a song called Happy. Fewer people know that while he ran menswear at one of the biggest luxury houses on earth, Pharrell Williams quietly went home to Virginia Beach and poured a fortune into rebuilding the city that raised him. A wave lagoon on the oceanfront, a concert hall where the old one was torn down, apartments, a hotel, whole blocks. But here is the part nobody tells you: not all of it survived. And what got built versus what collapsed is a lesson in power. The $350 million bet on his own hometown. Start with the centerpiece, because the scale is hard to believe. On the oceanfront in Virginia Beach sits a development called Atlantic Park, a mixed-use entertainment district with a price tag of around $350 million. And this is not a celebrity lending his name to a rendering. Pharrell is one of the private partners driving the whole thing, built alongside a local real estate group and the city itself. The piece that makes it unlike anything else in the country is the surf lagoon. Picture a man-made lake, about 2.5 acres of it, sitting a short walk from the actual Atlantic Ocean, generating up to 1,000 rideable waves an hour. The wave technology was shipped in from northern Spain, 46 modules of it, and it can dial a gentle beginner roller all the way up to a 6-foot barrel that trains real surfers. It is the first system of its kind to open anywhere in the United States. So, in a city that already sits on the ocean, he built a more reliable ocean right next to it, and it opened to the public in the summer of 2025. But the location is the part that carries real weight. This exact patch of land had been sitting as a sad, empty lot for nearly 30 years. There used to be a beloved venue there called the Dome, a place where Jimi Hendrix once played, and it got torn down in 1994 and never replaced. For 3 decades, the most valuable land on the oceanfront was a hole in the city's heart. He did not just build something shiny, he resurrected the dead center of his own hometown. And to understand why that mattered so much, you have to see where this man actually started. From the Atlantis projects to a property empire, here is the detail that turns a business story into something heavier. He did not grow up rich. He grew up in the Atlantis apartments, a subsidized housing complex in Virginia Beach, and public housing was the starting line. That is not a footnote he tries to hide. It is the whole engine of the story. It was near here, at a summer band camp, that a young Pharrell met a kid named Chad Hugo, and the two of them would go on to form the Neptunes, the production duo that basically built the sound of early 2000s radio. So the hometown almost anyone else would have left behind the second they got famous. He never really cut loose from. When that same Atlantis complex was later sold and renovated, he stayed tied to it, using it to recruit kids into his youth programs. Now do not get it twisted, the man also lives extremely well. His personal trophy homes sit somewhere else entirely, in California and Florida, including a reported $30 million estate in Coral Gables with a wine cellar and its own boathouse. But watch the split here, because it tells you everything. His mansions sit in Miami and Los Angeles. His empire, the assets he is building to outlast him, he planted back home in Virginia. Therefore, the flagship of that empire was always going to be personal, and it almost did not happen at all. A concert hall, a hotel, and 300 apartments. Here is where the wave pool stops being a water park and becomes a piece of a city. Because he did not build one attraction, he built a self-contained neighborhood around it. Next to the lagoon stands the Dome, a brand new concert venue that can pack in up to 5,000 people, run in partnership with the biggest live music promoter on the planet. The name is deliberate. It is a tribute to the original Dome that got demolished in 1994, bringing music back to the exact spot where it died. Then there is a boutique hotel, only about 20 rooms, but seriously high-end, where a room in peak season runs close to $600 a night. They went all in on the local angle, saving the trees they cleared and having nearby artisans turn the wood into the furniture, and then the piece that makes it a real community instead of a tourist trap. More than 300 upscale apartments, from studios to 3 bedrooms, built right into the development to pull young professionals into living there full-time. Think about what that combination actually does. The waves pull you in for the day. The concerts pull you in for the night. The hotel makes you stay over, and the residents keep the lights on all year, even in the dead of winter. That is not an attraction. That is an engine designed so that money and people keep moving through it constantly. But building a fun beachfront district was the easy version of his ambition. What he tried next was far bigger, and it is where the story takes a hard turn. The billion-dollar dream that collapsed. Here we have to be honest, because the proud version of this story quietly leaves this part out. In the nearby city of Norfolk, he went after something staggering, a full redevelopment of a dead shopping mall site under a plan called Wellness Circle, carrying an estimated price tag of $1.1 billion. His vision was not another mall. Working with a serious design team, the centerpiece was going to be an arena seating around 16,000 people, plus more than 1,000 homes, a hotel, offices, and a flagship school. For a while, the city said it had a preference for his plan. But the arena alone was going to cost close to $300 million. It leaned on a citywide hotel tax increase, and the financing never actually closed. City officials eventually ruled out the professional sports team the project had once chased. And by 2025, after months of negotiation, the whole thing was abandoned. The mall site handed back, and the giant arena shelved in favor of something far more ordinary. A 16,000-seat vision quietly scaled down to a fraction of the dream. That is a brutal fall. And it was not the only project of his that hit a wall, because around the same time, his own festival went to war with his own hometown. When the festival went to war with the city, his other big play for the region was a music festival he launched in 2019 called Something in the Water. On paper, it was brilliant, a huge, star-studded event on the oceanfront, meant to pour tourists and money and cultural heat into his hometown, and economically it worked, generating tens of millions of dollars in activity. But then it got dark. In 2021, his own cousin, Donovan Lynch, was shot and killed by a Virginia Beach police officer. Devastated and angry, he pulled the entire festival out of the city, publicly calling out what he described as toxic energy from its leadership, and moved the whole thing to Washington. That is how personal this got. The festival was never just business. It was tangled up with real grief and real anger at the place he came from. He did bring it back in 2023 as a kind of peace offering, but the peace did not hold. Weather wrecked part of the event, and then it collapsed into a bureaucratic mess. The city tied a payment of $500,000 to strict deadlines. The organizers had to lock in a lineup and start selling tickets, and they missed the deadline, then missed the extension too, with part of the team caught up in the Los Angeles wildfires. So in early 2025, the city officially terminated the contract and canceled the festival. Put it all together, and you get the real picture. The wave park got built, and it is genuinely beautiful. The arena collapsed. The festival imploded in a mess of grief and red tape. He is really trying to rebuild a city, and that city has, at times, fought him every step of the way. If watching a fortune get bet on a single hometown like this is your kind of story, subscribe and stay with me, because there is a reason he can keep swinging even when he strikes out, and it comes down to how he actually makes his money. The money machine behind the mission. So how does a musician fund hundreds of millions in real estate and absorb the losses when a project goes to zero? Because he is not really a musician anymore, he is a diversified business operation, and this is the genuinely smart part. Start with the biggest seat at the table. In 2023, he was named the men's creative director of Louis Vuitton, one of the most prestigious jobs in all of fashion, stepping into a role once held by the late Virgil Abloh at the top of the men's house. The exact pay is private, but it has been reported to run into the tens of millions of dollars a year for the fashion role alone, and the appointment quietly repriced every other deal on his desk, from Adidas to Chanel to Moncler. And watch how he weaponizes even that. For one of his runway shows in Paris, he themed an entire collection around Virginia Beach surf culture, wetsuits and board bags and surfboards on the runway, using one of the biggest fashion stages on Earth to advertise his hometown surf park to a global audience of billionaires. He turned a fashion show into a commercial for his own real estate, and that is only one stream. His whole philosophy is to own things, not just get paid to show up. He co-founded the streetwear labels Billionaire Boys Club and Ice Cream, he launched a skincare line called Human Race. He started his own auction house, Jupiter, to sell high-end collectibles and cut out the traditional houses, and his first personal sale there moved more than $5 million of his own memorabilia in a single night. Add it all up, and his net worth has been reported at around $250 million. And underneath all of it still sits the catalog, the publishing on a couple of decades of hits he wrote and produced through the Neptunes, quietly paying him whether he releases anything new or not. That diversified machine, fashion and brands and publishing and equity and collectibles, is exactly what lets him pour money into his hometown and survive when a project like the Norfolk Arena falls all the way apart. But the money is not even the most interesting part of why he does this, why he is really doing this. Here is what separates him from the usual celebrity real estate play. The money and the mission are wired together on purpose. That high-tech surf lagoon is not only there for paying tourists. He set up a program that uses the wave pool to give free water safety and surf lessons to local public school kids, including kids from the very housing project he grew up in. The fancy commercial attraction doubles as a pipeline for children from his old block, run through the same charitable engine from one hand to another that he has quietly funded for years. Then there is education. In Norfolk, he opened a tuition-free school called Yellowhab, built around hands-on science and technology and funded through donations and corporate partners. He is not writing a check to a cause. He is building the institution himself and then running his empire so that it feeds it. So step back and look at the whole shape of this. A kid grows up in a Virginia Beach housing project, meets his musical partner at a local band camp, becomes one of the most successful producers and designers alive, and instead of vanishing into a mansion and never looking back, he comes home and pours a fortune into physically rebuilding the place. Not all of it worked. The billion-dollar arena collapsed and the festival went up in flames. But here is the lesson buried underneath all of it. The pieces he owned and controlled outright, the wave park, the school, the brands, those are the ones that got built. The pieces that needed the city's permission, the city's money, and a signature from a room full of officials, those are the ones that died on the table. Because fame hands you the microphone for a season, but ownership is the only thing that actually compounds, and it is the only thing nobody can vote away from you. This is the exact same pattern we traced with Robert Reed Church, the man who rebuilt an entire district of Memphis using the land nobody else would touch. So here is the question I want you to sit with. Was this a win or a warning? Number 1, he is a genius rebuilding his city the right way. Number 2, he overreached, and the collapses are the proof. Number 3, the real win was always the ownership, never the headlines. Or number 4, the city failed him harder than he ever failed it. There is a right answer hiding in the numbers, but I want to hear yours first. Drop it in the comments, and I will read them all. See you on the next video.